Well, welcome everyone. This is our 2024 budget presentation. We've been doing this presentation or some version of it for the last 9 or 10 years, basically to educate council and the public as to what our budget is comprised of and what drives that budget and what we're looking at for next year, what the finance committee and the staff are proposing. So all of council, for the public's knowledge, all of council, the mayor, and our two council elects are on the Zoom call. So any of them can ask questions at any time and anything that they want clarified. This will be after this meeting, we'll advertise the budget on this Thursday. There is a 10-day comment period where any council member can view the budget. If you want to view the budget, you can come into the office or it will be online. You can make your comments in writing or electronically via email if you'd like. And any comments will be passed on to council before we adopt the budget. We are looking to adopt the budget on December 6th. So the public comment period will start on November 16th. It'll run for 10 days as required by law, but really you can make comment up until December 6th if you want to, because that's when we will be considering passing the budget for 2024. So this presentation is a little different than it was last year and the previous years. In the previous years, we went over every line item. I know council and the public get bored with that. So I tried to streamline it a little bit and just talk about each department and where we're at, changes from last year, and what the reason for the changes are. So the first thing, we have the highlights of the proposed budget. So we're proposing a balanced budget with no tax increase proposed, no garbage fee increase proposed, and no other fee increases proposed. So everything would remain the same for 2024 as far as taxes and fees. We're looking at a general fund budget of $13,401,022.96. That's up over almost $744,000 over last year, or 5.9%. I'll explain the increases later. Primary reasons for the budget increases are wage increases, healthcare increases, which range between 0.75% and 5.75%. Employees who choose the UPMC plan, their plan went up 0.75%, and employees who choose Highmark, theirs went up 5.75%. Another reason for the budget increases are the borough building construction, DPW building renovation. And these are because of drawdowns for the buildings, which I'll explain in each department. So if you look at the overall anticipated revenues, which we'll talk about revenues first, then we'll get into expenditures. We have a variety of different line items there, which we have increases up to 167% in one line item, which is in interfund operating transfers, and decreases up to 44% in another item, line item, which is departmental earnings. And keep in mind, if you think I'm going too fast, please slow me down. But also, this can be viewed online on YouTube after tomorrow. So the first line is real estate taxes, Department 301. It's basically comprised of four things, which is the current year's taxes of 9 mills, delinquent real estate taxes, prior year's taxes, which are taxes paid say on December 31st that the tax collector can't get to the bank on time. So we usually get about $20,000, $20,000 to $30,000 turned over on the last day of the year. We're looking at a projected increase of about $45,000 or 0.88% for 2024 based upon current collections and reassessments. As most of you are aware, the school district typically files an appeal on new homes, on home sales, if the assessment is much lower than the purchase price. So we're only looking at a $45,000 increase in that line item for the year in real estate tax. Overall in that department, we're projecting a 0.81% increase because I took down the prior year's real estate slightly. So next thing is Regional Asset District tax. This is the revenue we received from the 1% additional sales tax in Allegheny County. We're on track to collect about $465,000 in 2023. I budgeted for $450,000 of income in 2024, which is 3.4% or $15,000 more than the budgeted amount in 2023. I just tried to be cautious with that in case, if case there's issues where personal spending goes down and we have a recession or such that would knock that down. I don't want to try to max that out every year, just try to be conservative. Next is Department 310, which is local enabling taxes. The primary items in here are real estate transfer tax, earned income tax, local services tax, amusement tax, and business privilege. Projecting $124,000 increase in 2024. The primary driver of that is an 8.25% increase in earned income tax revenues. Based upon our current collections, we'll actually probably collect more than what's budgeted next year. We'll collect more than that this year. 33% increase in amusement taxes, mainly because the Cary Furnace has been booking a lot of events now post-COVID, and it looks like they're going to continue to do so in 2024. And we're also looking at 22.2% increase in business privilege tax. That's thanks to Shay and Sarah for kind of streamlining the process and how we get those notices out and following up with them. Our collections have increased quite a bit because of their efforts. Department 320, licenses and permits. This is cable TV franchise fees, street opening permits, electronic mechanical device permits. The cable TV fees, TV franchise fees drop every year because people keep cutting the cord. So as they do that, move to streaming services, move to dishes, satellite dishes, and that our revenue does drop. Electronic mechanical devices is expected to increase. It's increased greatly this year because now all these stores have these state legal gambling machines in them. And we do collect a fee of over $500 per machine off of those businesses. Street opening permits, we're looking probably about the same, which is about $40,000 a year for next year. In this line item of licenses and permits, we're looking at an overall decrease of 3.25%, primarily due to the cable franchise fees. I estimate they're going to drop from another $10,000 to about $125,000. Department 330, fines and forfeits, comprise primarily of police department fines, code enforcement fines, and parking tickets. Just projecting a slight decrease next year, mainly because the restitution account, it seems to be over budgeted for several years, and we're just bringing that down more into line to what we receive, around $5,000 a year. Interest earnings, I jacked that up this year because the interest rates kept going up and up and up, and was hoping that we would get more on our money, but we haven't. So I brought them back down to where they were in 2022 at about $750 a year in interest on short-term money. One of the things we may look at next year is if we, is talking to the banks about increasing that, or maybe looking elsewhere where we can invest our money on a short-term basis to earn a little more interest, because we do run about $15 million through the various accounts during the year. So it seems like we should earn more than $750 in interest. Next item is interest earnings. Rents and royalties. This line has been $8,300 for a number of years. We received $4,000 in income from the BP sign at the corner of Monongahela and South Braddock Avenue. That is on property owned by Swissvale. And so they lease it for $333.33 a month. And PRT, Pittsburgh Regional Transit, they pay us a fee to have their bus shelters in our right of way, which is about $4,300 a year. So those remain unchanged for 2024. Intergovernmental revenues comprise primarily of state pension aid, foreign fire insurance tax, PERTA, which is money the railroad pays in lieu of property taxes, and beverage licenses. I'm projecting an increase in this of about $54,000 or 14.41% next year. All right, so next section then is the after the pension we were talking about. Next section is the departmental earnings. Department 360. This is building permits, occupancy permits, crossing guard reimbursement from Woodland Hills, and payment for services rendered in other municipalities. Those are the primary items. We have a significant decrease of 44% in this budget line item this year, since we are no longer collecting trash in Homestead. So that was like $240,000 worth of revenue. So we have made $240,000 worth of cuts in other part of the budget, which I'll get to when we get to expenses. Other than the trash, most other areas in this department remain stagnant. Solid waste revenue, that's comprised of the fees collected for garbage collection and delinquent garbage collection. No changes in proposed for 2024. It's exactly dollar for dollar as it was in 2023. Miscellaneous receipts, comprised of miscellaneous receipts, contributions, reimbursements, dividends, sales, surplus property. Estimating a reduction of 7.18%. As we had the Quausqua Centennial celebration this year, and we had a lot of donations by members of the community and businesses that brought that number up a little higher. So we're not going to have that in 2024. Interfund operating transfers comprise of transfers from other funds to the general fund. Typically, we make a transfer from the SOAR fund to the general fund annually to cover labor costs of SOAR-related work throughout the year. I'm also proposing that we move the remaining ARPA funds to the general fund as we're in 2024, because council is putting in their requests to use them, and we have funded a few activities already, and we have to move that money to the general fund anyway to pay it, because we don't have a checkbook or anything associated with the ARPA funds. So I'm just proposing that we move that in, and that's it's actually $586,473, because there's $250,000 for paving and the rest for the council's discretion. Proceeds of long-term debt increased 4.67%. Basically what we have to do is, when we borrow money, we have to recognize the income, even though we really don't see the money. And this would be for the borough building drawdown, which I'm estimating about $4 million for next year. DPW building renovations, about $500,000. We also had 2 vehicles proposed in 2023 that we haven't bought in Public Works because trying to find them has been difficult. One's a dump truck and one's a pickup. And also in the 2024 in a vehicle replacement plan, there's another pickup, a 2013, that's due to be replaced. So that accounts for $210,000 of the proceeds from long-term debt. Even though the money goes directly to the bank we borrow it from, we have to recognize it as income, and then on the expense side, it gets shown twice. Once as the expense and for the vehicle, and then another as the expense for the lease payment. And then the final thing on this page, or actually final expense, is the TAN loan proceeds of $600,000. That's what we've been borrowing in the past years. We're getting into a better cash position where we may be able to reduce that in 2025. Also, we do have a $500,000 in a reserve fund. Maybe in the future we could look at tapping that part of that for short-term loan to ourselves rather than borrowing from the banks, especially now that interest rates are going up. And for those who don't know what the TAN is for, the TAN is the tax anticipation note, which we use to cover our expenses until our revenues come in, primarily from the property tax in May. So total projected revenues is $13,401,022.96. Do we have any questions at this time? Can we move on to expenses then?
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Okay. So what I'm showing here are the proposed expenses for 2024. And basically it's broken down to a number of items. You can see you have increases as high as 10%, decreases as high as 60% in different budget line items. So I'll just get into those. So the first thing is general government. This department funds the salary of the borough council members, the mayor, as well as dues, subscriptions, memberships, and conference attendance for the elected officials. So we have $32,423 budgeted in there, and there's no change from 2023. Administration, this funds borough administration, including salaries and benefits of borough manager and office staff, financial consulting services, risk management, consulting, IT, website, and borough newsletter. There is about a 10% increase in that budget. We need to up our IT maintenance, and with Vicky transitioning out last year and Dion transitioning, actually staying here, there was a little bit of a cost difference there that had to be accounted for in 2023 in our finance department. So, and we are also talking about, I've been talking with Chris about this, is budgeting funds to hire somebody to do some, we had passed that ordinance a couple of years ago about the trash can, with the trash can initiatives, and doing like door hanger tickets for putting out your trash improperly and other things like that, and also some extra parking enforcement. We did budget in this line item $20,000 for that, to hire someone to assist with that on a part-time basis. It would be a part-time job, really wouldn't be any set hours for it. Basically, so that people don't know when we're going to be doing parking enforcement, other enforcement. So that is in the administration. That may get moved to police or fire depending on when we refine this, but for right now it's shown in there, and that's part of that 10% increase is due to that $20,000 plus the workers' comp and the FICA associated with it. Tax collection. This is not just the money that our elected collector spends, but it also includes the costs of delinquent real estate tax, delinquent earned income tax, the garbage fee collection, the delinquent garbage fee. There's a slight 3.24% increase in there. Basically, the garbage fee, the collection has been better this year than it has in previous years, so the commission went up. And the earned income tax, as I reported under income, the earned income tax should be increasing more, than the commission goes up on that. Legal fees, there's a 1.4% increase proposed, and that's only because of transcripts. I bumped that up $1,000 because there's been a lot of activity with the zoning hearing board this year, and the cost of the stenographer and the transcripts have increased. Engineering, this basically funds the cost of the borough engineer for attendance at monthly meetings, report preparation, and engineering that can't be charged to a grant, the specific project, or the SOAR fund. I left that at the same at $5,000, as that's about where we're running every year. Buildings and plants, this funds the cost of janitorial services and supplies for borough and buildings, maintenance and utility costs for all the buildings and the properties. This has dropped to from $69,000 to $48,000 because we are not paying for cleaning at the borough building or the elevator maintenance agreement for 2023 or 4. So that was dropped by 20% because of actual costs, since we don't have a borough building at this point. But the utilities and such for the DPW building, maintenance over there, and all the parts and everything are included in this line item. So police department, this funds all the aspects of the police department. Requested budget's a little under $2.5 million, which is a 4.53% decrease from last year. Primary reasons for this is we do offer a healthcare buyout in the police contract, which one additional officer opted for that this year because they receive 50% of the premium and the borough saves 50% of the premium. So we had one additional officer opt for that. We did have funds budgeted for replacement of the canine in 2023 of one of the canines. We haven't spent that money at this point, but I was proposing to the finance committee we move it to the capital fund, and then that way the money will be there because we have the funds available this year rather than continue to rebudget it every year. We don't have any vehicle replacements proposed in the police department in 2024 as per the vehicle replacement plan for that department. Fire department funds all aspects of the fire department, including building inspection and code enforcement. Looking at the budget, just under about $1.5 million, 5.7% increase from last year. Primary reasons for that is the healthcare increases. When we change personnel, we don't always know, what plan they're going to take on the healthcare, and we did have more, higher plans chosen this year, for husband or wife or family. Vehicle maintenance and repair. Our ladder truck is a 2009, and it is costing more to maintain every year. So we did budget additional funds for that. We had a 90% increase in major equipment, but that is offset by an anticipated AFG grant of $18,000, and then the wage increases in the proposed contract, which I will discuss with the fire committee later this week. We tried to put a little more in the wages because, we do need to attract and retain firefighters. It's getting more difficult. It's just like the conundrum with part-time police. To find these part-time firefighters looking to, to fill our rosters. So those are the primary reasons for the increases.
Look, Greg, if I could just jump in real quick, if you go back one slide. I mean, we also need to understand at the same time, and I know I don't have a vote on this budget, but this is Kevin. Aging equipment is dangerous for our workers, the people that are saving our lives. And I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, agreed. And that's why we do need to spend more money on the maintenance of it to make sure it is still operable and in the condition it needs to be in for these people to go out and you can't save lives when you're risking your own, so you have to have good equipment to do so. Planning and zoning. This department typically is limited like special projects. In the past, we've done paid for the zoning ordinance through here. We've been budgeting funds for codification of our ordinances, which hasn't been done since 2006. And in discussing my goals for next year with the personnel committee today, said this is one of the definite goals we need to get done, that we need to get it off point. Now, this will be over probably 2, maybe even 3 years to do this. $15,000 would be to start the project, and would have to fund the balance in future budgets. Crossing guards, looking at a 4.83% increase. We have 5 crossing guards and 1 substitute right now. The cost of the budget is $73,873. We entered into a new collective bargaining agreement with them this year. There were wage increases, a larger increase in the first year, plus the uniform allowances were increased, and that is the reason for the increases in that department. Recycling, collection, and disposal, only a 2.37% increase this year. Mainly just the contractual wage increase and the higher healthcare costs, increased pension costs, and one of the things, the DPW workers, their pension is through the Teamsters, which we have little to no control over the cost, and it does go up 6% every year. We did lower the amount budgeted for electronic waste collection that we did last year. Every year that seems to get lower and lower because we've done a pretty good job of getting all the TVs and electronics off the street over the last 10 years that we've been doing this collection. Solid waste collection funds the salaries and benefits of 3 employees in DPW who collect garbage. Also for garbage disposal, purchase of dumpsters, fuel, and vehicle maintenance. Budget of $566,093.92. It's a 35.75% increase from last year. As you're aware, we're no longer collecting trash in Homestead, and we do need to reduce the staff by 2 in the DPW and in the next before the end of the year. Right now we're okay because one person is still out on comp, and we've been running short all year long. So we can keep the guys a few more weeks into December, but at some point we are going to need to reduce the headcount unless we get another contract with another municipality. So that's the reason for the 35% increase. There is an increase in landfills anticipated for next year that takes away some of the personnel savings, but that would happen regardless of whether we're doing Swissvale Homestead or just Swissvale. Public Works, basically all aspects of the Department of Public Works, with the exception of garbage and recycling, are paid for out of this department. $1.19 million budget, 4.3% increase. There were 2 budgeted vehicles I mentioned earlier that were not purchased and moved to 24, along with 1 vehicle due for replacement in 2024. And that's the primary reason for the increase, is because we have to recognize that income from the loan, which one truck is budgeted at $50,000, and that's the entire reason for the increase. Otherwise, this budget would be slightly lower for 2024 than it is in 2023. Recreation, $12,000. This is for a summer meal program as well as municipal recreation programs. No increase or decrease from 2023. Culture department funds maintenance of street trees along with contributions to the library, the food pantry, and numerous other celebrations occurring. 24% decrease here, mainly because no funds were allotted for the Quasco Centennial, as that's over at the end of the year. And the Juneteenth funds, which were in there at a higher rate last year, I reduced that back to the borough donation only because I shouldn't have put it in there as an expenditure last year, because we didn't have the corresponding income. We have that money was in our reserve account, in our bank account, and the it was available to the Juneteenth celebration, and whatever funds Juneteenth has left over are still available to them. But I only put in for the amount that the borough would donate for 2024. And that's why it looks like a large increase, but it's really decrease, but it's really not. Debt service. We have a number of outstanding loans. Well, it's actually only 3. But they total, the payments of principal and interest total $985,977.24. That's down about 0.5% from 2023. We paid off the remaining balance of Pennsylvania Infrastructure Bank loan that we took in 2012. We paid that off in May of 2023. And for next year, we are proposing to pay interest only on the loan for the borough building construction, and we have $125,000 budgeted. So that keeps us right around the same amount of debt service for 2024. Employer taxes. This is for unemployment compensation. We get surcharged when people collect unemployment compensation. And believe it or not, if an elected official is laid off from their primary job, the state actually tries to surcharge us because they are employees of Swissvale, because they receive a paycheck. We usually always object to it, to the surcharge. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. What we've done in the past 2 years is we've actually bought up and just paid a fee at the end of the year to buy ahead for the next year. And that fee is around $5,000. And it seems like we always come out on top of that one. Judgments. If we damage somebody's property, we'll typically pay a deductible for them. We really haven't used this very much in the last couple of years, so I reduced it from $2,500 down to $1,000. Insurances, $164,000, 7.19% increase. That's based upon the anticipated 2024 rates. Our liability casualty vehicle insurance renews 4/4/24. I've been talking to our broker about it, and he feels that maybe we can shop it around to different underwriters for next year and try to get the price down below what it is in 2023. So that's something we're going to be doing here in the next couple months, getting quotes on the insurances. Miscellaneous transfers and other. This funds tax refunds to property owners who successfully appeal their property tax assessments, land bank dues. We have to pay a reimbursement to the Turtle Creek COG for anything that if we exceed our, if our RAD money grows in any calendar year over the previous calendar year, 25% of it has to be paid to the Turtle Creek COG as part of the legislation that created the RAD funding. So we do have to pay that to the COG. So that's budgeted in there. Basically, the increases in here of 23% are attributed to the borough building construction, borough building design, engineering, and such, and moving $250,000 in ARPA money for paving to the capital fund. So basically, you know, any money, that $5.3 million, any money that comes into the borough for loans, the DPW and the borough building have to go there. The borough building engineering gets transferred in out of the tax increase, and the ARPA money will get transferred and then move to capital. So it totals $4.9 million. The other line items in that item total the other $400,000. So we have total projected revenues of $13,401,022.96, and I actually said it right this time. Total expenses of the same, which equals a balanced budget with no proposed tax or fee increases for 2024. Any questions?
This is Kevin again. I applaud you for balancing our budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's very well explained. Thank you, Greg.
Very easy to understand. Thank you so much, Greg.
Went down smoothly the second time around, Greg. Thank you.